This podcast contains discussions of child abuse, sexual repression and sexual abuse, suicide, racism, misogyny, PTSD and PTSD symptoms, and spiritual oppression and abuse, including guilt, shame, and fear. In most episodes, we will be mentioning some of these concepts in a general way without any graphic detail. If any of these topics or other triggering topics will be mentioned in great detail, we will let you know at the beginning of each individual episode, as well as in the show notes for that episode.
Rolling river of time, you've healed me in too many days. No regrets, no confusion, there'll be no pollution. I'm so thankful I've decided to change my ways.
Welcome back to the Leaving Eden podcast. My name is Gavri'el and I am here with my co-host Sadie Carpenter. And Sadie, would you like to introduce our guest today?
I absolutely would. We are here with the one and only, the beautiful, the witty Dinah House-Fire.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are so happy to have you.
I'm unbelievably excited for this today because this is not just the normal Leaving Eden podcast episode. For Pride Month, we thought that it would be a good idea to do, and I'm getting chills just saying it, the Leaving Eden Drag Brunch. Okay.
Yes.
Are you guys here for that? Leaving Eden Drag Brunch? Leaving Eden Drag Brunch?
I am so here for that.
Okay, so I've got Peroni and I've got Cavassier. Sadie, what do you have?
I have myself a gin and tonic. People got really excited last time I did the Wine Mom Sadie bit on the show, so I hope this one is similarly popular.
And Dinah, what are you drinking today?
So today I was trying to go with the brunch theme, so I created a not real mimosa out of some Moscato and some mango nectar.
Well, that actually sounds really f***ing delicious. I kind of want to try that.
I would try that.
You know,
anyway,
I mean, come on down.
Anyway, you guys are all listening to the show, and you are all probably like, who is Dinah House-Fire? Why are we listening to this person on this show that we like? So, Dinah, how would you like to introduce yourself to the beautiful people? Yeah. Who are you?
So
why should we care about you?
Oh, honey, you shouldn't, but I'm here anyway. Yeah. So I am a drag queen based out of Arkansas, and I'm here because I grew up in a super conservative Baptist sect here in Arkansas. And I primarily do like camp and comedy stuff in drag. So I do some stand-up and roast battles and all kinds of fun stuff. And, you know, I tell drunk people jokes as a side hustle. So I'm kind of hoping that you'll work on that Cavassier.
Okay, well, you know, I was going to say no guarantees, but actually guarantees. So, and what were you raised? IFB, IBLP? How were you raised?
So I was raised in, so it's called the BMAA, which is the Baptist Missionary Association of America. And I would like describe them as probably one tick less restrictive than the IFB from what I've learned and what I've found out. Like doctrinally, it sounds like more or less exactly the same. We were allowed to listen to some contemporary Christian music. And we
spicy.
I know, very spicy. Like there was, you know, when I was a teen, I even got to listen to like Jars of Clay if I was chill about it.
What's Jars of Clay?
Oh my God, Jars of Clay.
Jars of Clay and like DC Talk and even Audio Adrenaline.
What's DC Talk? What's Audio Adrenaline? What are all
these? Are all like.
Wait, is Audio Adrenaline the group from Glee?
No, but that's Vocal Adrenaline.
I don't know.
It's close.
I know Jars of Clay, and I'm trying to figure out how do I describe this to Gabi. Like if it's
Jars of Clay would be like maybe alt Christian rock, but like very light, like very.
Yeah, I was trying to say like X band if X band were Christian.
What's
But I
X
can't-
band?
No, like I was trying to like fill in the blank band, but I
Oh.
can't come up
I'm
with
trying
it.
to think like if this is gonna be a weird ride, but like if the Counting Crows like were a little we're like stoned but not crazy, and we're singing about how much they love Jesus and walking on the beach, then you would get Jars of Clay, I think.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
I'm
Okay.
you know, we're right there, Sadie.
We share one functional brain cell at least.
Girl, and we pass it back and forth. It's a long mailing time. It gets weird.
And you live in Arkansas now, and you are from
I do.
Arkansas.
Yes. I live in Little Rock now. So, you know, it's me. And yeah, I grew up in and around Arkansas. So I've been
Home
here.
of the Duggars.
Home of the Duggars. Yeah, they're a couple of hours northwest of me. I know at one point someone suggested that we should like mount a posse and go rescue one of the Duggar girls. And I'm just saying, like, I'm totally down to help with that.
What, on like a horseback, get some torches, some pitchforks?
I don't know about horseback, but maybe in like cars.
All right, y'all. You might hear a screaming baby for just a second.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to take that opportunity to just say this. I figure that we got to say this before too long. The Leaving Eden podcast is a fully independent podcast. We work hard to bring you sometimes one, sometimes two new episodes every week about the dangers of cults, fundamentalism. We talk about Sadie Carpenter's life in the independent fundamental Baptist cult, as well as other people's lives in the IFB cult and various fundamentalist cults. Sorry, I'm getting way off track here. This is not how this usually is.
This is exactly how this usually is.
Yeah.
You're fine.
You know, Sadie, what is it? We promote freedom of mind,
freedom of thought, and freedom of religion,
and freedom of I don't know what else.
Freedom of day drinking during the podcast.
Yeah, it's a Thursday. It's 4 p.m.
Listen, it's after 5 where I am, so I'm not, one of you people.
No, we live in Portland. Like 3 p.m. is 5 p.m. here.
No one has jobs.
Oh, well, that's not. I mean, like
people who have jobs have beer fridges at their jobs.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I used to work at a startup, and there was definitely a lot of beer in the office, which was nice. But I mean, I'm a teacher on summer vacation, so like I get a little wild anytime.
Oh, you're a teacher? Here's a
Yeah.
question: how drunk did you get on like the day, like at the last day of school?
Ooh. I did get drunk. That like I had. God, probably 6 or 7 like whiskey beverages, and I think I also probably smoked a little weed. So like it was a good day.
That sounds like about what I would do if I was a teacher getting done.
Like
with the
honestly,
school
you
year.
just kind of like you like wash your hands of what has been, because you just there's no going back. Like. What has happened, and
Like that little Thomas, he's headed some dark places, but not my problem anymore.
honestly, yes. Like, yes. It's like, oh, John was a little shit, but he has graduated, and I do not care anymore.
Okay.
And I had multiple, so like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not just wow.
I mean, Sadie has no brain cells left with one kid. You have what, like 80 to 800?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I also
Take care.
also work like approximately 15-hour days with the one kid. So.
Yeah, no,
Hey, that's
Sadie
okay.
wins. Sadie wins. I only have them for an hour and a half at a time. So like, if you can make it through half of a like showing of Titanic, you can make it through a high school class.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we should get into this.
Yes.
Sadie.
We took the baby break. Well, we're back on track.
Are
So-
we?
So you were raised in Arkansas, but not like with the Duggars, particularly.
No, I was not raised with the Duggars. I was raised in Southwest Arkansas, and they are in kind of the northwest corner.
Oh, okay.
So
So you
they're-
live in a county where Josh Duggar is currently not allowed to travel.
That's my understanding. Now, I have seen the
Congratulations.
Duggars
Okay.
in person before because Arkansas is small. And so, like, I've been at a Mexican restaurant and the Duggars were there, and it was just a clusterfuck of people running around and children and attendants and an overwhelmed looking, like, Mexican restaurant staff.
I'm trying to imagine working at a restaurant and the Duggars walk in and they're just like, oh, and we need to make sure that before we come to your restaurant, you can't have any alcohol at the restaurant.
Oh, no. So, Gabi, that's the thing. They have a, like...
Was Jim Bob drinking? Did he have the...
I don't think Jim Bob was there.
Frozen margs?
I don't think Jim Bob was there. I think Michelle was there. But yeah, they have a full bar. Like, I go there and get, like, fishbowl margaritas. And so I was, like, yeah, it was like a Saturday afternoon day drinking outing with friends. And then there was a tour bus in the parking lot. And I was like, what in the world? And we walked in and I was like, oh, this tracks. Because it's the family, but it's also like 10 other rando people that are with them, like cousins, and God only knows who all they take with them.
Oh, and that person that Sadie went to camp with, what was that?
Oh, yeah, he was probably there. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know the time frame on that, but...
Oh, you're talking about Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
totally
that could have been. Totally could have been.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So can you tell us a little bit more about your growing up? Are any like philosophical stuff that I talk about in my story that you're like, yes, I had that, or like things that were different? Kind of walk us through that story.
Yeah, like what's your backstory? What's the Dinah House-Fire origin story? Like, when did you get bitten by the radioactive spider, the radioactive gay drag spider? Like,
oh, well, that the radioactive gay drag spider comes later, but I mean, it was always lurking. Let's be honest. So yeah, like, so I grew up, like I said, in the BMAA or the BMA, it doesn't matter. You hear it both ways. And my mom is a preacher's kid and my dad is a missionary's kid. And so I grew up in the kind of household where, like, I relate a lot, Sadie, with you talking about, like, it's your job to always be there. Like, you're at church all the time. Every time the doors are open. And in fact, you know, your parents have keys to the church. And I grew up not really... I
need the door code when I was like 12. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just run up to the church and do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I didn't know that wasn't normal until I was at least junior high, if not high school. Like, it didn't occur to me that other people didn't literally have their entire lives revolve around going to church. But yeah, I philosophically, like, all of the stuff that you guys have talked about in other episodes about sort of Baptist doctrine and sort of the strictness of you can be more conservative but not less. I definitely witnessed that growing up, where it was a big scandal. I remember when the woman who taught my Sunday school class in, like, probably middle school age, she deigned to wear, like, a pantsuit to church, and it was my mother talked about that. Yes, and I mean, it was nice. She was very dressy, and it was pants, and oh my God. My mother talked about that for weeks, how, like, she just couldn't believe where the church was headed. I also remember, yeah, I mean, just hell in a handbasket because she's not wearing a skirt. And then, you know, I've also just grown up with that mentality always being around where, like, you're not crossing your T's and dotting your I's as far as being, like, in line with the way things are supposed to be. And then also, like, growing up, my dad worked for, like, a subsidiary organization within the larger church association. So, like, we were part of the machine. So I remember going to our, like, national conventions as a kid and watching these, like, old white men getting up and talking about I don't know what for days and years. And then everyone sort of voting, and it was all kind of a blur because I was like, I don't know what's going on. I just know that I go to church here or whatever. I got saved when I was about 8 years old, and then was baptized into that church within that year. Although I remember not doing it immediately because I was like terrified of like going forward during the altar call at the end of the service and like telling the preacher that I wanted to be baptized. But yeah, as like an 8 or 9 year old, I became a member of the church, and therefore like someone who could vote in the church,
Wow.
which is, yeah, that's weird. And like retrospectively, I didn't have any business having an opinion about the budget approval, you know? So that's a little bit different. And so our local church, like if you were a baptized member, you could vote in any vote that was happening in like a business meeting. When I was, in those sort of youth group years, I remember one of my good friends who's a year or two younger than I am, deciding that, well, if we can vote, we can have a say. And so he started sort of rallying the teens to like object to things that he didn't like in business meetings. And
like what?
Gosh, I think some of it was like, oh, we're gonna expand the youth outreach program by having this and that event. And he would get up and he would object and say, I don't think that's a good way to use our time and resources. I think we should do this. And, he's like 14 or 15 maybe. And so I just remember being sort of mortified by that. And also thinking that's kind of ballsy to get up and tell, Miss Joanne that you don't like the way she plans to spend our communal money. So it was weird.
That sounds super weird. I can't remember if my church let you vote at 16 or 18, but I know it wasn't that young.
Yeah, like there wasn't an age limit, but there was also a push for like school-age kids to be saved and baptized. And I think it was the generally expected thing that we just didn't have anything to say and we wouldn't care. And that was the case until this friend of mine, like, who is now in law school, and that tracks. Until he started, like, kind of making a fuss. And then I'm pretty sure they started creating some, like, counter-programming for the youth to do during business meetings so that we wouldn't be there to be a thorn in their side.
Oh, that's manipulative.
A lot of this will be that way.
That's some disenfranchisement, man. You gotta get them to pass a law about that, man.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
He would have introduced the bill, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, how certain people love voter disenfranchisement.
Yeah.
Girl.
You are very involved in your church. You are a teenager, and things are going great. Are they going great? Are you happy? Are you sad? How are you feeling?
So yeah, this is where the origin story, I guess, kind of starts. Yeah, by the time that I was in high school, for sure. Not only was I very well aware that I was not like all the other kids, but I was also definitely like starting to realize, because puberty will do it to you, that I was attracted to people who were not girls. And so I started realizing, oh, this is not what I'm supposed to be thinking. This is not how I'm supposed to be feeling. So I'm going to pray really hard about it. And I'm going to just try to be as close to Jesus as I can. And I'm going to do what I can to just like find God's will. And I know that once I am, living right and I am like living for the Lord, then, he will change the desires of my heart.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, Sadie knows where this is going. He will change the desires of my heart, because if I'm seeking after him, then everything will work out and I won't have this same-sex attraction struggle anymore. And, it may not come as a shock, but that didn't really work out.
Damn.
But it was rough. Like, shit was rough for a while. And then my parents, eventually, because I was doing like the whole, like, I was doing my daily devotions, my quiet time every day. And then I was even like amping it up. So I would do like devotions in the morning. And then later on in the day, if I was feeling depressed or anxious or whatever, like I would like journal, like I would write in like a prayer journal. And so I was writing about all these things that I'm experiencing as a teen. And, teen guys are kind of gross anyway when it gets down to it. Like,
oh, very true.
Sticky and disgusting. And so,
yeah.
I mean, right? It's just the reality. Like, it's nothing to be shocked about. It just is.
Have you seen Bridesmaids?
Yeah.
You know,
crack a blanket in half.
Yeah, the crack a blanket in half.
Like when she said that in Bridesmaids, I felt it in my soul because I was like, I didn't have like a blanket, but yeah, that's true. Like teen boys are gross and we don't understand anything. At least I didn't understand anything that was happening with my body.
No, you karate chop your sheets. It's like you're trying to like, you know how you do with the ice cube tray? You go,
yeah. Oh, no. Or like you have to origami it into the washing machine. Just super gross.
Yeah.
But so anyway, in the midst of ruining linens forever,
I'm traumatized.
Are you traumatized, Sadie?
I've never been a teenage boy. I don't know about these things.
Sadie, I feel like this is actually my ministry, is preparing like young parents for how terrible it's going to get. So if you in the future have a son, just know like there's going to be some years where you want to knock first. Like it's not a cute situation.
Yeah, I know about that.
Well, but like even if you knock, like things are going to be weird for a while.
He's going to smell bad too. He's going to he's going to have no sense of style until he figures out like a really weird sense of style that's really specific, and it's not going to be good, and you're going to want to tell him, look, you look like a fucking idiot wearing that.
And he'll hate you for saying it even though you're right.
Yeah. And then you'll like be like, okay, fine, let me take these pictures of you and then I'll show them to you when you're older.
Okay, sorry, back to Dinah's story.
Okay, so the point of all of that, by the time I was like in high school, I was struggling with the same-sex attraction, and I've got giant scare quotes around that. My parents found and read my prayer journal. And so I did not... At that time, I did not come out to my parents because I was struggling with it. So it's not something that is my personality or who I am, but they became aware that that was a thing. And I had conversations specifically with my dad. And basically he said, and I'm 1,000% sure this was a like pre-discussed and rehearsed conversation, but he said, we read your journal. We understand that this is something that you're struggling with. We love you, but just know that if this is what you decide to do, you'll never be happy because you will be living outside of God's will, and he won't bless you if you decide to be gay. And then he also told me that I would probably get HIV and die. So,
oh boy.
That's
yeah.
So
that was an unpleasant sort of awakening of my parents are aware of what's going on, but we kind of also never talked about it again.
So what, you like just come home from school or something, you're like, hi, Mom and Dad. And
yeah,
and they're like, we read your prayer journal.
Yeah.
We know it's in it. Oh, and you're like,
that's like an extra layer of fucked up though. Like reading somebody's journal is bad, but I feel like reading somebody's prayer journal is worse.
Because like if you get a bad report card, if you know the bad report card is coming, and you got like you've been like figuring out a way to like finagle around that, be like, no, it was just this one test and there was one assignment that I didn't get in and it didn't get counted on the online thing until you know what I'm saying? If it's a bad report card, you know that's coming. But if it's like, oh, they read your prayer journal, they figured out you're gay, like,
it was definitely bad. And I will say by this point, like I was definitely dealing with a lot of depression, probably, brought on by this like overwhelming guilt that I felt internally. And then, to have someone be, well, and not just someone, but, my dad, who I was close to, be like, we know this is a thing. We're not going to disown you, but just know that this is not okay, which was essentially what I was told. So that sucked. But I redoubled my efforts to like figure out how to draw close to Jesus and become the straight person that I was supposed to be, which was super fun. Then I went off to college. I went to school a couple hours away from where I grew up, dated a young lady for a couple of years on and off, tried to make that work. It didn't. I think the spoiler there is that it was never gonna work. And at this point in my life, I do have like a strong connection with her, and we're friendly from a distance at this point, but I feel badly that like I put her through that because of my own shit that I just wasn't dealing with. But I also wasn't at a place where I thought I could deal with it. And I thought, if I just keep trying, it's all going to be okay.
Right. It's like this culture that didn't accept the person who you were meant to be all along put you in a position where now you feel guilty that you may have harmed or inconvenienced or hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And how do you suss out blame for that? Because, of course you feel guilty because any normal person with a heart would feel guilty, but also you shouldn't have ever been put in that position. And I think that's why a lot of us just like deal with lingering guilt, even over relatively small things like that. That's like,
for sure.
I just don't know if I hurt somebody. And if I did hurt somebody, I don't know if it's my fault.
Yes.
I really identify with that.
And it's one of those things where if my entire like upbringing has been to be the best version of my little Baptist self that I can, and then in so doing, I'm trying to, find a good Christian wife, and I'm thinking maybe I should be a preacher. And like, you're plunging yourself deeper and deeper into that world in order to escape reality.
Yeah, because reality is like, you have been told that your reality is not acceptable. So you kind of like dissociate as a self-preservation skill into like, no, I can make this work. I can be something else.
Yeah, exactly. All that being said, during my junior year of college, the BMAA began advertising an opportunity for college students to be undercover missionaries in China, which, like, it felt very, like, James Bond-y.
That's very illegal in China. Yeah. So for those who are unfamiliar, China as a country is officially non-religious. So if you are a member of a religious group, you may be persecuted, you may be taken to a re-education camp, you may be victim of other atrocities, and if you're actively going out and converting people to a religion and trying to be a missionary to other people, that is very illegal and it is a very bad idea.
Yes. Yeah, and I will add, so China is officially non-religious. Under the Communist Party of China, they are officially an atheist state. There is religion in China, and I don't think we really want to get into the ins and outs of that, but religion exists in China, and there are sanctioned ways to be a religious person there. What I was doing was not one of them. And so anyway, I applied to this thing. I did the interview process. I got accepted, and I ended up moving to China for a year as a student.
Yeah, how was that? How was it living in China?
It was intense. I did not speak Mandarin at the time, and so I was in school essentially as like an exchange student, but not from an exchange program with a school in the States. So I took a year off of the program I was in at my university, and I moved to Beijing to be a student at their intensive Mandarin program in a university there. And so I did that, and like I had taken a semester of Mandarin at my university back here in the States, which means that I knew how to count to 10 and like say I'm American. Like I did not learn anything. So living there and not speaking the language and being a full-time student, but also being an undercover missionary. I was there with a group of, I think, 6 of us who were missionaries. And one of those missionaries brought his young family with him. So there were, I think, 10 of us total Americans who like vaguely knew each other when we left the States.
Anybody speak Chinese?
No.
They really did not think this through. I cannot fathom how do they think that this is going to work? That they're just going to fucking send people over there? Yeah, bring them to Jesus. Do you speak the language? No.
So the idea was that, so there was a woman who was our sort of program leader that went with us, and she had been a missionary in another country in Asia for decades. And she had moved to China like a year or 2 earlier to be an English teacher there, to do the same thing, essentially. And so she had sort of thought through some of the logistics of it as far as like, this is the design of this program. But she also did not speak Mandarin.
Was her last name wasn't was it?
Not Caleb. Her last name was.
That just sounded a lot like the lady who ran the First Baptist of Hammond missionary group in China.
I would not be surprised if there were similar things going on across the board.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, we moved there, struggled. I spoke the most Mandarin of anyone because I had a semester of like introductory Mandarin, and then it was immersion, and we were doing all that, all classes all day long, and then we were also we were meeting with one another regularly, and the idea was that then we would also within our universities find like conversation partners so that Chinese locals could speak English with us, and we could work on our Chinese with them. And so that was the hook, so that we could meet local students and like be witnesses to them and try to convert them. And then
that is very predatory.
This is very familiar to me.
That is this is an unbelievable story. So they send people on purpose who don't speak the language so that they can convert the people who are going to teach them. Wow.
Tommy, you remember me telling you about the whole story about talk to the other cool teens about the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yes.
This is literally just the extension of that. Like this is the same practice, just like in another country and much more fucking dangerous. This is the same thing, and like you get out and you don't know how to have a friendship that's not goal oriented.
Right.
It's really messed up.
Wow.
It is messed up, and like. Years and years later, as I'm on the outside of it, I look at it and I go, Jesus, that is horrible. At the time, it was all rationalized to us as, well, you're there to help them. You're there to save their souls. You're going to, be doing the Lord's work, and it's good for them. And if you're able to do this, then, jewels in your crown in heaven kind
of thing. It is 1000% the definition of white saviorism.
Uh-huh.
Like, in a more literal sense than you could ever imagine.
Like, horrifyingly so.
But you were there out of a good heart. Like, you were there because you genuinely thought you were doing the best and kindest thing you could possibly do for those people.
Yeah.
And then you, like, grow up and learn better, and it's so... I don't know about you, but for
mortifying.
me, it was, like, so disturbing.
Yes. Yeah, I was there, and like literally you would think that I was going to be martyred for this. Like it was that sort of level of dramatics, but also just like, I can't believe you are laying down your life to go to China, and you're probably going to be, thrown into prison and killed, and, all these things. So like you develop this weird outsized ego about what you're doing when really you're kind of a shisty salesperson going to another country with no real business to be there. Like, it's not great.
And then there's like the ego death of that when you get out.
Uh-huh.
And it sucks. You described that really well. So you were in China for about a year.
Yes. And while I was there, I was living with One other guy who was in my group, and we became very close. We were also living with another American. The three of us were sharing an apartment. This other American guy was not part of our group. We were not allowed to disclose that we were like how we knew each other, like as far as that we were in this group, and we weren't allowed to talk about that or mention the name of the BMAA at all. So we were living with this other guy. He was from California, I think, and he was also Christian, but he was not on a mission trip to China. Anyway, the guy that I was living with, who was in my group, he has some physical disabilities, and he, like, honestly just needed some help with day-to-day stuff. And so it worked out for us to be living together. And I would help him with a lot of the day-to-day things that he struggled with. And it became kind of my internal rationalization for being there, because I'll be honest with you, I was not a very successful missionary.
No, I can't imagine you would be.
I did not convert anyone. Yeah. So I decided that my role was then to support him, who I saw as someone who was going to be more successful. He was a little preacher boy from Texas. And so I saw my role as, okay, I'm going to let him, I'm going to let him ride on the back of my bicycle wherever he needs to go. And I'm going to cook, and I'm going to make sure that our house looks nice, and, blah, 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 to make sure that he didn't have to worry about anything, that he could just, focus on saving the souls of the Chinese people. Not a healthy way to live your life. It's very codependent, but, there was a lot going on. So ultimately, he and I became very codependent within that relationship. And internally, it crossed the line into an attraction. And eventually he and I, for lack of a better term, hooked up. Which, if you're playing along at home, you cannot do in this situation for about 17 different reasons. So that was bad. And then we, finished the year, went home to our respective places in the States. And then we all had to come back together, because as an organization that has just put thousands and thousands of dollars into the team of 6 of us, we had to then go and have a debrief with the old white men who are in charge and tell them, how things went and what happened and all that kind of good stuff, before we then would each of us, share our testimony of having been missionaries at the national youth conference that they do every year in July.
Right, because they want to return on their Jesus investment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're not so you get there and you're like, what are you going to say? Are you going to be like, this did not work at all. This was a terrible plan. Whoever came up with this plan is a fucking idiot. This is not a good idea. This is not an effective use of your resources.
So you would think that, but the reality is that I didn't have a vantage point that allowed me to even think that. I just thought that I was a failure. I didn't understand that the system was a failure and that it was a bad idea to begin with. I just thought that I did a bad job and that it was really hard, and I failed.
I felt that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I that made me tear up. I really get that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you also had to feel that way.
Well, it's almost like the concept of I think you guys have talked about it, but sending people out that's designed to fail to force you back into the group stronger. It was like that, but on this ridiculous scale. And the thing with that concept is that it's not a conscious thing that anyone is doing, at least in any level that I've ever encountered. It's not consciously done that you're sending missionaries out to fail so that they'll be better preachers or youth pastors or whatever when they come home and they'll have a cool story. They really think you're going to convert China. And you're just fucking not going to.
No, that's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
we've all been fed those stories, right? About
Yes.
like David Livingston and Nate Saint and
Yes.
what's his face in Burma, and like all those people. You know, the guy in Burma. You know, somebody out there knows his name.
Isn't it Myanmar now?
Yeah, it was Burma at the time. Of this famous Fundie book that was written. But we've all been like force fed these stories our whole lives about how like one person converted a whole country. And then we've all been force fed the idea of like, well, you could be the next one.
Mhm.
What about that guy that went to South America and got eaten by cannibals?
You're talking about, wait,
Yeah.
who? That's not Nate Saint. Nate Saint got killed by cannibals, but did
Yeah,
not get
he's talking
eaten
about
by
Nate
them.
Saint. That's
Okay.
who
Got
you're
it.
thinking of. Yeah.
They made a movie about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, Three Gates of Splendor. That's who you're talking about.
Yes,
And it had
that
the guy
guy.
from Dr. Quinn in it. But so ironically that you bring that up, the family that was with us, they named one of their kids Nate after
Oh
him.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oy vey.
honey, no.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like that. I really don't like that.
Not ideal. He was 6 or 8 months old when we got to China.
Oh, I can't imagine. Oh, man.
They still live there, by the way. So I'm not going to mention any names, obviously, but yeah, they just live there. That family stayed after when everyone else like moved back to the States. They stayed and they're still there, doing what they think is right. Got back to the States, met with these old white men, and I had to explain to them that our relationship, the guy I was living with and mine, got murky. And that was the word that I used. And they said, murky? What does murky mean? And I was like, I'd rather not be specific. But they're not dumb. So they picked up what I was putting down and they said, well, we think that your best option would be to not talk to each other again. And I was like, oh, okay, well.
That
cool.
made that easy.
Yeah, it's really easy. Like imagine being in a relationship with someone for a year and then you just aren't allowed to talk about them or think about them or talk to them at all ever again. Now, obviously this wasn't like a mutually beneficial, healthy relationship, but that's how it felt, was like, just cut it off. It's over. Go about your life. So there was like me like dramatically crying in the bathroom of this hotel lobby. And then, you know, putting myself back together and going on with my life. And that's just what I did. So they decided this gaggle of old men decided that my best option would be for them to find Christian counselors local to where I am and to set me up to work with those Christian counselors, and so that they could help me, you know, be more mentally healthy, but also like get me back on track with being a good Baptist kid. So they set me up with this husband and wife pair who are relatively local to where I am. And I started meeting with them. I met with them over the phone a couple of times, and then I started meeting with them in person. I think I was going on like a weekly basis for...
I just want to say, in the fundamentalist world, if you get set up with a husband-wife team of counselors, oh boy.
It's
Is
bad.
That is like
It's very bad.
That's very, very serious business.
I'm a bit confused. So why?
So
What is there behind this?
So basically, like the perception, I want to hear what Dinah has to say, but I would say it's because they perceive like whatever sin you're doing to be so serious that if there was just one of them there and they didn't have accountability there, that you could probably drag them into your sin with you.
Yeah, I think
So
there
basically-
Is that
they're
the vibe,
afraid-
or is there like another part of that I'm missing?
Well, I think that is definitely, I think, a part of it, although like realistically, come on, but you know, these middle-aged crazy looking people, but
They're
but
like,
yes.
no, you know what they're like? They're like, oh man, picked up the gay demon, right?
Yes.
You picked up the gay demon. We better not let this husband in here alone with you. Better make sure his wife is there too.
This was before the concept of the gay demon was on the table.
Doesn't matter that this dude is 78 years old and like his eyebrows
Right.
are like, you know.
Hold on. I'm hearing about gay demon.
Okay.
I feel like we need to get this.
Okay, because this is something that we saw brought up in the Facebook group. So you posted in our Facebook group that you were given an exorcism for having a gay demon.
Yes.
And we immediately
texted each other like, hey.
So I will start with, I don't know if the demon itself is gay or if a byproduct of contact with the demon is gayness.
So it wasn't like you had Lil Nas X up inside you.
I'm gonna leave that alone, Gabi, because that could be
you see how
potentially
he gets
detrimental.
You see how he gets you though? Now you're not gonna make fun of me for missing jokes anymore.
Well, no, I mean, listen, Lil Nas X could get it, but this was not him. So yeah, Jesus Christ.
You see what I deal with?
I just didn't see Lil Nas X coming up tonight, and like that's great.
We're talking about
but
gay
listen, that's
demons.
on you.
You're right, Gabi.
We're talking about gay demons. Did you not think that we were going to talk about Lil Nas X?
You know, I haven't reframed my like life trauma since Montero "Call Me by Your Name" came out, but like now
Great
I'm probably
song.
going to. It is it's a banger. I'm into it.
I have a friend who wrote like a master's level paper about it, and the paper's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's really
that
good.
is timely. Good for your friend.
Yeah.
So what had happened
Or an
was
older person reference would be Satan in the South Park movie.
Yeah, that would be a me like junior high level reference there.
Yeah,
I think junior high, maybe early high school.
Yeah. Wait, you saw that movie when you were like when it came out?
No, actually, good call. So no, I did not see that movie when I was that young. That's when it came out. I remember though it being extraordinarily scandalized because we were at this. Pearl's fully clutched, Gavi. Get ready. We were at the National Youth Conference that they do every year, and I think it was in Dallas or San Antonio or somewhere. And you know, there's free time during the days during those things. So they had taken us all to the mall wherever we were, and some of the guys from our youth group went and watched South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut in the movie theater in the mall because they had enough time. And I mean, I thought they were going straight to hell. It didn't matter if they had been baptized and saved. Like, it was scandalous. And I will say, I'm not a narc, so like they got away with it. But it was such a like, you can't do that. And I felt like the couple of guys who were sort of heading it up were like the bad news guys in the youth group. So.
Just like how we didn't rat on anybody for eating the weed brownies on choir tour in junior year of high school, right, when we went to Six Flags.
That's right. Snitches get stitches. Like, I'm not here for that.
No.
But I'm telling you that now in confidence that these guys who were 15 went and saw the South Park movie while we were on a Baptist trip. And, it was a lot. I did, though, I will confess my own youth conference away from home sin that I bought the soundtrack to Hair, the musical, at like an FYE or a Sam Goody or something back when those existed.
FYE, oh man, yeah. That is a throwback. FYE, for your entertainment is what that stood for. Yeah.
And I bought that soundtrack to Hair, which is chock-a-block full of hippies with drugs and sex things. And I had to hide it in my luggage and get it home.
I read, speaking of sins on youth group trips, I once read The Princess Bride, the novel version, which is considerably dirtier than the film turns out.
I've read the novel version. The novel version is very interesting.
I was like 15. I learned some things from that book.
Oh.
Well, I had have you read the prologue? Like the
The only thing that I remember about it was when they were talking about like ranking the top like 50 most beautiful women in the world, and they're like, by this time she had become the number 28 most beautiful woman in the world. And then
that was my youth group trip sin. But my sin didn't get me infested with demons.
Right.
Yeah, we need to get back to back to these gay demons.
The gay demons. So these life coaches, basically he is an MD. I think he specializes in like genetics or something. And then she is an RN. And I think she had taken like life coaching classes somewhere or on the internet or something. And so they worked together, but because he's an MD, he was allowed to write prescriptions. And so it was a whole thing, but they had set up their little business of being Christian counselors. And so I started seeing them. They decided after several months to have me read the book, This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti. And that book is a fictional, like it's a Christian fiction book about demons and how there is an ongoing war between demons and angels and like good Christian people, and the demons are constantly trying to attack humans to like take over their lives and take over their souls. And it's actually not a bad read. But they assigned that to me as sort of homework. And then after I had read it, we talked about it, and they were like, they said, we think that, you know, obviously this is a fictionalized story. And in the story, this young woman starts dabbling in astral projection, and that allows a demon into her soul and like leads her down the dark path of being demon infested. They said, well, we would like to pray over you and anoint you with oil, and therefore get this demon. I think they called it a demonic attachment. So I wasn't possessed by the demon, but there was a demon attached to me. Now, what the difference is, I don't actually know. I think
sounds highly dubious to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're possessed, then the demon is the only one making choices, and if you just have an attachment, it's like a shitty backpack or something that really slows you down when you're running. So anyway, instead of saying, "Hey, you've got clinical depression," they said, "Let's give you an exorcism."
And these are trained medical professionals.
That's what's scary. Is these people have licenses and like board memberships and stuff.
This person graduated, I assume, either from a medical school, or I guess he was a doctor. He wasn't an osteopath, because
Hollywood Upstairs Medical College.
So this is like, you know, The Exorcist, where like they take the daughter to the doctor, and the doctors are like, you know, she might be possessed by a demon. You should check that out. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's essentially the thing here. I will say that they were very nice people, but massively misguided.
I want to know what medical school this guy went to, though.
I told you, Hollywood Upstairs Medical College.
I would assume that it was one here in Arkansas. There's a pretty substantial medical school here where I live. So I would assume he probably went there, but I really don't know. But anyway, so they proposed that they would do this thing for me. And they said, we want you to think about where you would want to put your demon so that, or I don't think they use the term demon, but like your spirit or whatever. Where do you want to put your spirit so that it can't harm anyone else? And that it can't harm you again.
Because when you cast it out, you have to cast it into somewhere.
Right. Yeah, right. Because you've got the whole Jesus casting out the demons into the swine,
into the
or themselves into the water.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, it'll bring 7 more buddies back with it.
Yes. And
I would love to see Gavi's face right now.
Oh my God.
I'm absolutely confused. I do not know about any of this stuff. This is
this is some good New Testament-ish right here, Gavi. Like,
yeah. If you have a demon, you got to cast it out. But if you cast it out, you got to cast it into an object, preferably a living object, preferably an animal. Because if you don't cast it into something, it'll get right back in up your nose. And then if you cast it out, but you do it wrong, the next day the demon will come back and bring 7 more demons, so you're extra possessed.
That is.
Saying it out loud sounds
It
ridiculous.
does feel sillier when you say it all out loud like
But
that.
that's like
Sadie.
exactly the teaching. But am I wrong? That's like the exact teaching.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
you're right.
look. I was slightly late to getting to this interview because I was in the middle of a Harry Potter marathon, and the Harry Potter marathon stuff sounds more reasonable than this.
Logical, yeah.
Yeah.
Believable.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
No,
and,
that universe has rules and
So-
stuff. That's like continuity.
oh honey, there are rules in this universe.
So
They're just
what
weird. They're real weird.
object or animal or I don't know neighbor did you choose to have your demon cast into?
Yeah, that's the thing. Can you choose to have your demon cast into like a person? Be like, what do you want your demon cast to? I want it cast into you, mother.
So I think there are some ethics behind demon removal. And since this was, in the 21st century, I don't think they want to cast it into anything animate. So like it was not an animal and it was not a person. Although that would be a sick power.
You can't cast it into like a dog and then keep the dog as a pet.
Do you want a demon possessed dog? That sounds awful.
I mean, people choose to own chihuahuas.
I mean,
I have an cat and I'm pretty sure he's not demon possessed.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, I've got dogs and I don't need them having any backpacks on, like telling them to be worse.
So where did we put this?
So when I had been living in China, I had bought some rings from local artisans there. And I had bought rings for myself and my roommate that were like little silver bands.
Totally
and
normal
they had-
straight guy rings, yeah. Mhm.
Totally. Yeah, it was super healthy. So I had bought us matching rings. Sadie, as I say that out loud, it does get weirder.
Gabi, how you buy your straight male friends rings.
I mean, that could be like if you're like in a gang together, rings that you like slap people with. Like if you're like,
yeah, you got to keep the pimp hand strong.
yeah, like if you have like a team of gangsters and like all of you guys have the same move, or if you're like a martial arts crew and this is like part of your move, like part of your style is having rings on and slapping.
Thank you for normalizing matching rings.
You know what? If one
I'm
of my
into that.
friends was like, "My guy, we're homies. We need to have matching rings," I would be like, "You want to have matching rings with me, dude? I feel great." Like if we were that close, if we were that tight, I would be like, "I will wear this matching ring with you, my friend, any day of the week. I will never take that shit off except when I shower."
Okay, Gavi. Yes, I appreciate that. So in my mind, we're just like BFF, and we've got matching rings.
You walk down the street, you're feeling like we squatted up. Like that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, exactly. I mean, clearly that wasn't what was going on. But anyway, I had gotten us matching rings, and they had like a really cool, very sort of like rustic looking hand done carving of a dragon in them.
Oh, that sounds fucking sick, dude. I want a dragon ring.
Well, I mean, you don't want this one. But yeah, so I bought it because also one of the characters in my Chinese name translates to dragon, right? So like it was very meaningful. Right?
Okay.
Bobby's on Etsy right now.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, where do I get a Chinese name? I have a Hebrew name. I have a government name. I need a Chinese name now. This or that. It can't, and especially if it's something with like dragon in it.
I could give you an American Sign Language name, but apparently you like Dinah more than me.
Okay, well you
That's more
can
of a
give me
Chinese
what's
name.
my American Sign Language name going to be?
Oh, here, let me just show it to you over our podcast. Where we're not in the same
I
room.
don't know. So the way that I got my Chinese name was kind of lame, and it was just like more or less a transliteration of my, not the name I go by, but like my legal name. Because for anyone who does not go by their legal name first day of school, like is always a nightmare. Well, imagine that you also can't even tell the teacher that's not the name I go by. So the name that I actually go by also like can't really be transliterated because some of the like sounds don't really exist. But my legal name, they did a transliteration, and so I've got a name, but it includes the character for dragon, which is Long. And so that became really important to me. Yeah, Gavi, you would probably get a transliteration, and it would be like Hagwo or something, like, because there's no V sound. It'd be a whole thing. So I decided that this dragon best friends Wonder Twins ring would be where I cast my demon, because it was very symbolic of my time in China. It was also very symbolic of this very unhealthy relationship that I'd been in with this person. And so, like, it was the perfect thing. So I brought it. I did not take it with me because they sprang the exorcism on me like a session earlier than I expected. So like, I guess
a surprise exercise.
Well, yeah, no, you have to get the jump on the demon, because if the demon like thinks he's like, oh, okay, I got a week left, and then you're like, nope, you're going today.
Right. Well, what I didn't know when I was going into this, I mean, that I was going to have an exorcism, but I knew that they wanted to like do a ritual. I didn't know it was going to be that day. I also didn't know what to expect. Like, how does one respond to having a ritual performed on you? I will say my experience was not as like split pea soup, head spinning dramatic as anything I've ever seen in movies, or anything like that. There really physically nothing happened. Other than I'm sure my blood pressure was through the roof because it was insanity. But I was in their little like office space on a comfy chair, and they got up, and it was the both of them, and the man took a very ornate little container out of his desk, and it had oil in it that had, I guess, been blessed or something. And then they prayed, like put their hands on my shoulders and I think a hand on my head. And they prayed that, I would be released from the influence of this unholy spirit, and that I would return to living in the light of God. And I mean, it was probably a 5-minute prayer, which is long for prayers, but not that long for exorcisms, I suppose.
Demon removal.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it should take longer.
I mean, you could do that in the drive-through.
Did they yell like "get out" or "go" or like? Was there any like casting out?
No, so that was what was interesting and what I didn't expect. So I guess I thought it would be more of that. I think they did, in like a calm, firm voice, address this entity, and tell it that, I was a child of God, and that it was banished from, my existence, or, being attached to me or whatever. But there wasn't really any shouting. And honestly, sitting there, nothing happened. Like, I felt very like nervous, and I think I, got like the palm sweats, but nothing really happened. And they said, so pay attention over the next few days, and you'll probably feel a shift or a change. Now, I had also been having, I think largely as a result of anxiety and stuff, but also as a result of having read This Present Darkness, I was having sleep paralysis. And so I would wake up, but I couldn't move, which is terrifying. And it very much does feel like there is something like sitting on your chest or like holding you down because your body won't move, even though you're fully conscious. Like, 0 stars, don't recommend.
I have had it one time in my entire life, and it was bad. Completely terrifying.
Yes. It's bad. So, like, that was also going on, but like I said, I think it was sort of prompted by a lot of these things that had been planted into my head leading up to this experience. So, I went home, which at this point, home was a dorm room on a state university campus. And I got up in the middle of the night one night, having like had a bout of sleep paralysis and was just like freaked out. And I went to the bathroom thinking that I was going to be sick. And I stayed there and I was just like, whatever's happening, just get it the over with, kind of a thing. And eventually I calmed down and everything kind of felt like, okay, I'm all right again. I'm fine. So that was, a day or two after I'd had this prayer anointing thing happen. And I told them in our next session, which was probably only a few days later, that I had experienced that. And she said, well, did you throw up? And I said, no, I literally hate vomiting. I'm not going to throw up. Like, that's stupid. And she was like, you should have thrown up. That's how it gets out of you. What? And I was like...
No, they watched The Exorcist and they're like, that's what happened.
And they told me about stories about like seeing people have demons exorcised in cathedrals in Europe, and that people will just like vomit because this demon is leaving them and all these things. And I was just like, I'm pretty like anti-vomit, so I'm probably not going to do that, but I think it's cool now.
So, I mean, I don't know. Is the demon still with you? Because,
oh God. Well, I don't know. So what ended up happening though, and I apologize, it's a little out of order, but when I got home from the prayer and anointing that had happened, and that happened so that was about almost an hour drive from where I lived at the time. When I got home, I took that ring out of the drawer that I had it in my desk, and like I looked at it and I felt like this sort of release of like emotion. It was very strange. It wasn't joyful, but it was just like a release of some anxiety when I picked up that ring. And then they had instructed me that I could do different things. I could throw it in a river. I could put it on train tracks and have it be flattened by a train, which we don't condone.
Right.
But I needed to make sure that nobody ever put the ring on, because if they put the ring on, then they're opening themselves up to the influence of this demonic spirit. So I took like some heavy craft paper and made a little envelope and then stapled it shut with the ring inside. And that ring still lives in a piece of paper somewhere in my possession.
Oh my God. Okay, I know this is a lot to ask. If I ever meet you, can I please put it on?
Oh, yeah, totally. If I can find it, you can like totally put my ring on.
Okay. If you ever find it, I will find a way to be in your neck of the woods and we will do a video and I will put the ring on.
I mean, I'm sure I've got it somewhere, but this is also 10 or 11 years ago. So it's...
Oh yeah. Don't beat yourself up looking for it. But like, if you happen to find it... Just like laying around.
You want to see my demon ring? Yeah,
I want your demon. I want to collect your demon.
Well.
I've been reading a lot of Harry Potter lately, man. It's reminding me a lot of the Resurrection Stone ring Horcrux situation, man.
It is Horcruxy.
Yeah, it is Horcruxy.
I'm into spooky things, but I don't deal well with dead spooky things. So demons are really, kind of my preferred level of spookiness.
Ironically, demons were the things that I found scariest in horror movies in that period of my life, obviously, because I was like, well, those are actually real, whereas like slasher killer Freddy Krueger type things, whatever. Like, not only are the movies cheesy, but like they're not real, whereas demons really are real and they could actually come and get you.
No, I agree with that. I think that's one of the things that's healed pretty well as opposed to certain other parts of my story.
Fair enough.
So, would y'all like to go take up the offering and come back in a few minutes for a few more questions?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's do that.
Welcome back. We are still here with Dinah House-Fire. We just heard a story about an exorcism of a demon, trapping that demon in a Chinese ring, and keeping that ring. You know what? That's why you're still you're still about that life, man. That's why you're still about that life, is because you keep that ring.
Oh, I
and
thought you were
That's
going to say
what-
that's why I'm a drag queen, because jewelry has really shaped some pivotal moments in my life. But
I didn't make that. You made that connection. I did not make that
oh,
connection.
okay. Well, then that's mine. Yes, point to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm
how'd
still
you
gay
get it-
because of jewelry.
Well, that's why I want the ring, because I want to release Dinah from this, this terrible curse.
Oh, please don't.
You're gonna
okay.
Sadie's gonna like get the ring, put it on, and suddenly you're gonna be like, let's go to a strip club.
It's gonna be like Yitzhak in the end of what's it called, Hedwig, where like all of a sudden Yitzhak like transforms into the drag queen.
Yes.
It's gonna be like that. You put the ring on, it's just like
That wasn't in the movie.
yes, it was. It was in the last scene.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that.
So let's ask.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're fine.
Oh, I was gonna say let's ask another question.
Okay, so
Because-
how do you go from demon possessed, exorcised to now I'm a drag queen?
Well,
There's some in between there. There's
yeah, it's not a direct route. And like I said, the exorcism business was over a decade ago. I found so when I came back to the States and post exorcism, and my life was like less crumbling around me because I was having support from peers and mental health was getting better and all that kind of good stuff. I did eventually come out to my parents, and I had already come out to my friends, and I was living my best life to the extent that I could as a broke college kid. And I started dating my first boyfriend, which was its own ball of wax.
still into Jesus or not?
It was complicated. It was very like the Facebook setting of It's Complicated with me and Jesus. I was not willing to throw religion away completely. And so I knew that I couldn't be like a hyper conservative Baptist anymore. But I also knew that I had spent, 20 some odd years of my life in religion and learning about theology and doing my best to be the best Christian that I could. And so it was a struggle because I didn't know where I belonged and I didn't know where I would be accepted. I felt fully ostracized from the BMAA because if you've ever been in a group of more than two people, you'll know that rumors and gossip spread extraordinarily quickly. And as someone who was on a pretty recognizable level at that point, like out of the whole association of thousands of members, like I'm one of 6 people who did this thing. And then of those 6 people, I'm the one that up and got intimate with someone else in this team and really threw a wrench in the works. So I knew that I wasn't welcome there anymore. And it's one of those things where I've had that conversation with my mother before, not exactly the way I just said it, but I've had that conversation with her and I've said, I don't feel welcome. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to thrive in that setting. And no one ever had to tell me, but I've seen it happen to others in the past. So there's really no need for me to stick around and see it happen to myself as well. That being ostracized would happen. So I graduated from college and then I moved in with some friends who were also kind of leaving their Baptist upbringings. I think they were both Southern Baptist from the cradle. And they became, one of the friends I lived with became an Episcopal priest several years later, but he was on the journey of becoming an Episcopalian and going through the process of formally becoming part of that church. So I kind of went with them on that journey for a while and started going to an Episcopal church in the town where I lived and loved it. And it was great. And it was so different, but it was still about Jesus. And I was really into it. And then I eventually moved to where I live now, and new city, all that kind of stuff. Started a new career, and in so doing, met a bunch of new people. And when I started my new career, I was never in the closet. I just was me, and nonchalantly, I was a male-bodied person who was also dating a man, and that's just part of who I was. And I was fortunate enough to work for a company that was very open and embracing of diversity, because being gay in Arkansas, not advisable if you can help it.
It's not Portland.
Yeah. So I kind of just started a new chapter when I moved, and was able to live as myself for the first time, really. And I still was going to church, sporadically, but I was still trying to engage with religion because, like I said, it's part of who I was raised to be. It's part of who I am. When I started my new career, I met a bunch of new people, obviously. One of them ended up becoming my best friend, and he is a trans guy, and he, at the time, had been performing in drag king shows. And so at the time, this was before he transitioned, but he was performing. At the time, he was presenting as a lesbian and performing as a male performer, so drag king, which are lesser known, I feel like, than queens, but they definitely are out there. And so
one of my favorite drag performers is a drag king, just saying.
Oh, there are some fabulous drag kings.
Oh my God, Javier. Oh, he's the best.
I have a friend in Portland who does a drag king boy band.
Oh, do you know Javier? Because that's who I know that's in a drag king boy band.
What's the name? Hold on. What's the name of the drag king boy band?
I have to look it up, but I'll let you know.
Is it?
No, I don't think so. There are 2 drag queen boy bands in Portland, apparently, which I have just now learned.
That's
I love it.
No,
so I'm very into the idea that you guys know overlapping genre drag kings and they're not the same person.
Yeah. Well, if you have a boy band of drag kings, then there's got to be more than one of them.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, what would Backstreet be without NSYNC?
Right. There has to be a rivalry to make
Yes.
it work.
I'm very into that. So I met him, and he invited me to go with him to compete in a bar level pageant in a town that's not super far from where we live, because he was still very new at drag, and I had taken stage makeup classes in college. And so he knew that, and I was like, I mean, I've done gender reversal makeup for theater, so I know how it's supposed to work. And he took me, and we bonded over that, and I got very involved in the drag king community. And I always joke that Dinah was raised by drag kings and wolves, because I found my way into drag in the most sideways door possible. But I started building all of his costumes and doing all of his rhinestoning and everything like that, and making props, and got very into the community. And then a few years later, I had been thinking about I wanted to do drag. I had a lot of conflicting feelings. I still felt weird about it because of my upbringing. And also my the boyfriend who I'd been with, at the end of college and after that, he had always kind of been please don't do drag. I'm not into it. That does not sound I don't find that attractive, whatever. And so I didn't do anything. But then he and I broke up, and sometime later I was talking to a different friend, and I was like, I really want to do drag, but I think I don't want to take away from what is going on with my drag king best friend. And she said, well, I mean, he's kind of been doing this for several years. It's fine. It's not a big deal. You can do yours and still support him. And I thought, well, that's true. I can. And so I gave myself about a 6-month lead up. Then I said, in 6 months, I'm going to start drag. And so I started getting myself together and getting costumes together and learning how to do makeup and learning how to, put pads on where they need to go and getting wigs and all those kinds of things. And so this was probably 4 or so years after I had that exorcism and moved and changed careers and all of those things, that I went to my first event in drag. It was a queer prom. And I went and just had a blast. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. Thankfully, I was not performing.
Were you as Dinah House-Fire? Was Dinah House-Fire the original persona?
So, yes and no. I will say one weird thing that I did in college, not in college, in high school, that my parents were not thrilled about was I was like a super theater nerd. And we did a theater department or like booster club or something fundraiser that was a turnaround pageant. And so I entered that and won when I was in high school. And as I said, parents not thrilled. But my name in that first foray was Audrey Heartburn.
Okay, that's pretty good.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's not bad, right? Like, I'm pretty proud of that. And then, yes,
your parents you entered that and won after your parents had already read your,
yeah.
And they're like, oh no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I remember my dad being like, not thrilled, not like angry about it, but just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So Dinah House-Fire, yes, I started drag as an adult. Audrey Heartburn. You're going to be thinking about that like tomorrow and just going, oh, that's good. But yeah, I started out in drag. Actually, my initial plan was to be Dinah Fire. And then I tried to register on Facebook as Dinah Fire, and Facebook said that's not a name. And I said, well, you, Facebook. And I said, how about Dinah House-Fire? And that apparently is a name. So
if you hyphenate it, then it's
right. They're so stupid.
Yeah.
So Dinah Fire, though, was something when my first boyfriend, who had been really anti me doing drag, when we would like playfully argue, he would like get frustrated. He would just be like, Dinah Fire, and with like a weird Southern twang. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to reclaim that. And so I Southerned it up a little bit with Dinah and just went for it. So ultimately he gave me my drag name accidentally, even though he was against me being in drag.
And you do have an incredible drag name.
It is a good name.
It's really good.
Well, thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, I have a little affinity for punny drag names.
So that brings me to something that I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Is that so Sadie and I had a plan of a couple things that we wanted to do during this episode. We had to make sure that we talked about the gay demon Chinese exorcism situation.
Like you do.
Yeah, like you do.
Well, every new friend that I meet, I'm like, oh, have you ever had an exorcism? It's like first beer conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of same.
So,
yeah.
But one of the things that I thought would be fun would be if you helped us come up with hypothetical drag personas. Excuse me. Sorry. So we're going to have Sadie come up with a drag persona. I guess, Sadie, you're going to be a drag king. Is that cool? Do you want to be a drag king?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I absolutely do. I have some thoughts. I'm having some name trouble, so I'm hoping that Dinah can help me solve this problem that I definitely have not been thinking about for quite a while at all in any sort of way. Why do you ask?
I literally sent it because when we first started doing the Pride month planning, we were like, we got to get Dinah on episode, and we were like, this has literally been an idea that I sent Sadie like 2-3 months ago.
So do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go first? And then
you can help me come up with a drag queen. If I were going to be a drag queen, what would my persona be? Okay, so who do we want to go with first?
Do you want to go with me first? Because I have like some thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay. So I would love to be like a crust punk dude.
Okay.
If you think that there's a character here, I would love to do like my ideal drag outfit would be like sleeveless, I don't know, like Misfits shirt. Maybe like a really, really dirty Social Distortion shirt, like cargo shorts, Doc Martens, thinking some kind of like, like green spiky hair. So kind of anything that makes me look like Johnny Rotten.
Okay.
Is there a character in this direction, do you think?
Oh yeah. I will say,
okay,
Sadie,
like scruffy face, because I do know how to do the liquid latex face stuff. So I'm already like on the road here. My dad taught me how to do liquid latex when I was a kid.
She had to do a lot of stage makeup for those.
Yep.
Which scare him to Jesus.
For Patch the Pirate Plays, yeah.
So, like, I literally, this is what I do for a living, is I teach teenagers how to do stage makeup. So, like, it's good time.
That is a great job to have.
I'm not
it's
like,
so fun.
I'm not like super, super good, but like, I know the basics of, I know like some pretty basic stuff.
You know, I've learned that it doesn't, like, you're never done getting better. So it's fine to just kind of not be the best and keep going. I was thinking, Sadie, when you were saying that, first of all, this sort of alt, like grungy, like rough around the edges, dark thing is actually pretty popular in the drag king world, at least from what I've seen in, like, I've gone to like national pageants and stuff with my best friend for years, and there's almost always someone who is like super dark and kind of scary. But it sounds like you're going more into like a musician-y, like I'm part of a band vibe, which I'm into. So I would say you could try like selecting, there are different things you can do, but you might pattern your name off of a famous person and like riff on it. Or you can think of something sort of immediately punny. So I will say there are way too many people whose names end in like cider and things like that. like where it's like I'm the name that's coming to mind, and I'm not thinking of a specific person because I feel like this is used more than a little, is like Justin Cider. Or there's a very famous drag king who is Landon Cider. But what I was thinking was you could go like, you could be like Sid Vicious-y, but you could be like Sid Luscious or Sid something else. Like,
think of like you're coming up with like a heavy metal name and you're like an 80s metal guy. Like, yeah.
And then
none of those people are those real names. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or Johnny Rotten is good.
Because like I don't actually like the Sex Pistols, which is funny because my husband really does. Just not my style of music, but I would love to like dress like Johnny Rotten. Like his outfits in like the 60s and the 70s, like the little plaid suits. Oh my God. Like the plaid suits with green hair and Doc Martens.
Yeah, I'm into it.
That would be like, I feel like that is a character that I could embody well.
I'm into that. So like
I was gonna say, if it was me designing a character for you, it would be, I would have you be a preacher boy named like Rod Faithful.
See, that is Dinah. Dinah, can you have two drag characters? Is that a thing? Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want.
And you would, what you would do is your act would be going up on stage and singing about like, you would sing songs that are like Southern gospel type songs, but they would also be like the Jesus is my boyfriend type songs.
Yeah. Okay. I'm following
That's what I'm envisioning for you.
I can see that.
I could see that. I do need you to, if we go that direction, you're going to have to vocal coach me because I don't have the range.
Okay.
I need to work on my low range if I'm going to do that.
There you go.
Because I can speak in a low range. I can't do it with my singing voice as well.
Or we could just have you go up there and do like some sermons, but then make the sermons really homoerotic.
Okay, maybe I could. Okay, so those are some real solid ideas for a drag character for me. But if Gavi is going to be a beautiful drag queen, and I
Am I
believe
going to
he
be
is,
a beautiful drag queen?
you're going to be one of those bearded queens, which are, I
Oh, we
think,
do love a
special
bearded
and
queen.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I think it's really, really fun to see a bearded queen personally. So,
Dinah, what is my persona?
and you also need to know that he's 6 foot. You're 6'1".
I am 6'1". I weigh 178 pounds.
So with some good old 6-inch heels, you're going to be 6'7". That's like almost Isaiah Esquire height.
Man,
Yeah.
Isaiah Esquire is a Portland area drag queen who is nearly 7 feet without heels.
I feel
Incredibly
that because
intimidating
I too am
human
that
being.
tall. Like I'm
Are
6'4" flat foot. So
Oh my God.
I'm a
Boy.
lot of woman. I'm what
Holy
Bob the drag
cow.
queen would say, a suspiciously large woman.
I love Bob the drag queen.
She's great. So one thing that immediately springs to mind though is if you wanted to like do a dual act together, then Gavi could be Faye Feeler.
Faith Feeler. Faith. Okay.
So you're like a faith healer, right? Faith healer. It's not my best work, but it'll do in a pinch.
No, that'll
Okay.
work.
But I don't know if that's the direction, like, because that could be a very like Tammy Faye direction you could go. It could, yeah. You could
I want to get him in really tall heels, and that's my priority here.
This is all hypothetical. You're talking about like actually trying to do this.
No, I'm not, because I love Isaiah Esquire, and they are so tall, and that's just like, I don't know. That's.
That's fair. I will say, pro tip, Gavi, get a heel that's got a platform built in, because then your feet won't hurt as bad.
Good point. Fair.
But Gavi, I feel that you want to be more glamorous, maybe more club kitty. Is that right?
I don't know. What do you see for me?
Oh gosh.
Do I want to be glamorous? I would be glamorous. I mean, I'm glamorous no matter what, but.
Well, I get, that's the impression I have, is that because I know that you're attracted to nice things as a human being. I feel like, there are girls that I work with down here that like their whole aesthetic is just money and like looking expensive at all times. And so
that's definitely my aesthetic.
Yeah. Like their whole thing is like, I want to look like I cost several $1,000s to be here. And I'm into it. It's not my thing because I do camp and comedy. And so it's hard to wear like an eyeball encrusted gown and look like you are being paid thousands of dollars. But I think you could do a riff on like a famous actress or something. Let's see.
I was kind of thinking like old Hollywood or like super glamorous actress. That's where my brain was going.
If I was old Hollywood, I could be like super like Jewish American princess.
You could.
Can we come up with a Jewish pun on the name of a famous actress?
Ooh.
Because this seems like the direction. Or we could just do something with Natalie Portman, because I know you love Natalie Portman.
Oh man, I do love Natalie Portman. She was my first love.
Yes. As we discussed in the How Does Gavi Know That He's Straight segment.
Yeah, how do I know that I'm straight? I saw Attack of the Clones and I was like, let me get some of her.
Oh God. I thought as society we had chosen to ignore that those movies ever happened.
Go back and watch Attack of the Clones again. That movie fucking bangs. I will hear no argument otherwise. I love Attack of the Clones, man. You know the scene in the middle where they're like...
Gavi, drag queen.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to your
We could do like Greta Garboy, but I don't feel like that's very clever. Let's see. What is a good Jewish pun that we could do if you want to go that route?
Okay, let me think. Like, what type of actress are we talking about here that I'm like pretending to be? So if I'm going to be like old Hollywood, that's going to be. Like,
I mean, I personally am a Veronica Lake fan, but that's just me. She's like super, super old.
That is super old.
School.
I could see you doing like a Jane Fonda-y type thing.
Jane Fonda. I have to Google her.
What?
I know that she exists.
She was a sex symbol for years.
What is wrong with you? All the IFBs hate her because she did something in Vietnam. I don't know what.
She's
On, like, a
83 years
helicopter.
old.
She got arrested with Ted Danson.
She posed on like a helicopter during the Vietnam War, and it was seen as very un-American that she was protesting the war. Oh. She also had workout videos, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, and she was on Grace and Frankie.
Yeah, she's on Grace and Frankie.
Which is a show that normalizes like women getting older, and I think that's fantastic.
Wow. She is 83 years old. I saw a picture of her. It says Jane Fonda in 2019, and she looks incredible for being 81 years old in that picture. I don't know
like
how.
A smoke show.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But what if or
this is a work in progress. We'll figure it out.
But I see Gavi, like I see you wearing like a lot of like maybe furs or like marabou feather trims and like just dripping opulence.
I mean, I do that anyway.
Yeah, I was saying like white and diamonds. And you wear white anyway.
White and diamonds. Yeah, like a Liz Taylor. Yeah, okay. I could see that. So I'm going to say that's the direction is, like 70s era Jane Fonda, maybe.
Okay.
I think that is the direction. I think that you've really helped both of us with our completely hypothetical future drag careers.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing these come to fruition, but
if anybody listening wants to like Photoshop these into existence, then
yeah, that's fine.
Who is the what is her name that did the Eurovision a few years ago, and she won, and she has the beard?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
The only thing that I know
very vaguely.
The only thing that I know about Eurovision is that ABBA won Eurovision, and also like 2 years ago, the Israel won Eurovision. Like Eurovision 2 or 3 years ago.
And I thought the Will Ferrell movie was good, even though everybody thought it was bad.
Well,
really? I thought it was I heard it was really good.
I thought it was. Well, you probably heard it from me. I thought it was great.
Her name is Conchita Wurst, and she was a queen who won Eurovision. She's from Austria. Gorgeous, but bearded, and I think you could do that. I think that would be nice.
I don't think he's getting rid of the beard at this point.
And that's fine. That's fine.
I have a weak chin. It's sad.
Oh, well, at least you realized that about yourself.
Yeah, grew a thick beard. No one can tell now.
So I want to know, I've been thinking of the Insane Clown Posse song that samples Steven Anderson.
Oh my God, Insane Clown Posse.
Have you ever directly incorporated or sampled any parts of your upbringing into your act as Dinah?
Yeah, I would say directly yes and no. I've definitely done a good bit of stand-up material about coming from a super conservative household, and like that means that I refer to the holiday season as the tone it down season. And like you don't want to go home and be just like, you know, glitter fairy everywhere when you're like in southern Mississippi with the extended family and you're going target practice, like shooting guns. So I do incorporate it in that way. I also I've done a lot of bits about the Duggars in my stand-up, and in like I host a lot of events and things.
I watched some of your stand-up on the internet before we had you on. And so there was an episode a few months ago, I think, where I made a joke about Carissa Collins. And then a few days later, I watched one of your stand-up. And this joke was very vulgar to the point where I
made you bleep it.
Yes, where I had to bleep that from the... From the episode. You can listen to that joke if you subscribe to the Patreon. And then I went onto your YouTube and watched you make that exact same joke about Michelle Duggar. So,
are you serious? That's funny. I've made
I think
a lot
you
of
know
jokes.
the joke I'm talking about.
Yeah, now that you say that, I do, and it is vulgar. Yeah, and that's funny because I didn't even think about that when I heard you say that. But yeah, I've made a lot of jokes about the Duggars, and like at one point I had written like a hypothetical musical based on the Duggars, where I had like just come up with like song titles. I'll give you the one that I can remember right now is Daddy That Hurts My Head. And it's just about how she's always pregnant and how the baby, and it's from the baby's point of view. So.
Oh my God.
So,
do you maybe want somebody who is a composer and a songwriter and a really good parody artist?
Yes.
To work with you on this hypothetical
I would love
musical.
That. There's also
Sadie, do you think that we could produce this musical, or that we could compose this musical?
I think we could, because what you may not know about me, listeners and everybody, is I'm a pretty good songwriter. I feel confident about my songwriting abilities, but what I am much, much better at is writing parody songs or comedy songs. That's what I'm actually good at, much better than I am at just, regular old songwriting.
Well, I have lots of ideas, not just about like vulgar Duggar musical things, but like lots of comedy ideas. So I'm very into that. There was also one
vulgar Duggar musical, though.
Another one in the Duggar musical is The Baptistry is Tainted. And it's about using the baptistry as like a water birthing station as well. Because why not if you've got your own?
Oh my God.
So those are some options for you. But yeah, I have talked a lot about the Duggars just because I do recognize, first of all, it's local flavor. Like in Arkansas, people know who the Duggars are. But also I recognize a lot of my own upbringing in what they sort of espouse. Like I remember like talking to a cousin of mine when I visited, and her just talking about how much she just adores the Duggars and just looks up to them so much and wants to be just like the girls and in raising her children, and just thinking, oh my God, no, you don't. You really, really don't. But I've also done, like, I've got some things that I want to do in drag that are kind of direct quotations from my upbringing. So there is a Christian artist who was super popular in the 90s named Sandy Patty. And she is... Sandy Patty. And I know it sounds like she should be on SpongeBob, but this predates SpongeBob, so there was no irony in it.
No, she was on like TV, like on televangelist shows, right?
Yes. I believe she sang with the Gaithers. If you're aware of the Gaither vocal band, I think is their full name.
I definitely am. Gavi probably isn't, but
so
I know most of our listeners.
What any of this stuff is.
So I'll send you a YouTube link, but she sings in a very like practiced and measured. She's got a beautiful voice, but she sings in a very practiced, measured, church lady way, and she's got a gorgeous soprano, but she's a lot. And she sings these overtly emotional songs about how Jesus is the only reason she exists. And when we finally are able to see him in heaven, how that will be the most, enrapturing moment of her existence. And there's a video of her that I'll send you that she's singing this song, which is a pretty song. And I've heard it a lot growing up, but she's also, for some reason, about a quarter of the way through, she starts signing the lyrics as she's singing in this like very like emotionally wrought way. It's almost like, it reminds me a lot of the way that you would sing for musical theater, or something like that. But it's like tears in her eyes and close-ups of people behind her.
Is it kind of like in Napoleon Dynamite when he's performing with the sign language club? Is it like that?
Yes. Okay. Like the earnestness is palpable and it's so funny. But the other thing is that growing up, my mom would sing special music in like Sunday morning worship services. And she sang so much Sandy Patty. And she would like get up and she would sing, like she would give a little bit of testimony and then she would cry a little bit and then she would like nod to the person in the sound booth and then her accompaniment, cassette tape would start. And so
that's a lot, man. That is
it is a lot. So like it just makes me laugh because I also like the first time I ever got into drag, I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, that's my mother. I see my mother, like a very made up version of my mother. And so it's really funny. And so I see that as like a tribute, but also like a winking, nudging tribute to my upbringing. But yeah, Sandy Patty, look her up. Sandy with an I, Patty like a burger.
We definitely will.
Oh
Yeah,
my
go
god.
for it.
So I know that one more accolade that you have as we close out this roller coaster of an episode that I wish could go on so much longer, but it's been pretty long already, is so I know that one further accolade that you have is the title of the meanest person in Little Rock.
You guys did your homework and I'm impressed.
We don't just get f***ing anybody on this show.
People, every once in a while we get somebody saying that we didn't research our show.
Who says that we don't research our show?
I may have accidentally clicked into our Twitter message requests, which I probably shouldn't have read. But
I don't even read our message requests. I'm too busy. Who said that?
I don't suggest it. I don't remember.
Who said that? Did you delete it, or is it still? Let me go in and see that right now.
It's still in there. It might be in there, or it might be on our podcast reviews. I can't remember. Somebody
Does
said
anybody
it about
think
us.
that we don't? Okay, look. Do you know how much 1970s TV I had to watch
to try to find Paul Sand?
to try to find Paul Sand?
No, but we actually we do a lot of research. We just act like we don't. Anyway, Miss Meanest Person in Little Rock, you earned that title because of a game called You Look Like.
I did, yes. It was, I think, January 2019, before the world closed down. I did that, yes.
And how you play You Look Like is you pretty much just insult people, but you put the words you look like at the front of every phrase. Is that it?
We're basically roasting, yeah?
Yeah, the rules are basically that everything has to start with you look like. So it's a roast battle. It's intentionally like roasty and defensive-ish. And yeah, it has to start with you look like. If the way that it works in like an actual like comedy club or whatever is that if you accidentally say something to the person you're battling and you don't start with you look like, you have the 1 minute of shame where they hold up a mirror, like a full-length mirror to you, and you look like yourself for an entire minute, which is, I've never messed up and had to do it, but that's fucking hard. Like, that's a lot of content, like a minute solid of roasting yourself.
Oof.
So,
I do not want to roast myself, but I did prepare a couple jokes for you.
I'm so into it.
Okay, well, the roast I prepared of Sadie doesn't have to do with her physical appearance.
Well, it's not about appearance always.
Okay.
It's like,
So I
Dinah,
could
do you
just-
want to
it
help
doesn't
me
have to be
explain this?
appearance.
So I
No,
could just
but-
say any roasty thing and then
You have to
You look
start
like-
it with you look like. Like
Okay.
you could say like, Gavi, you look like you show up to Super Bowl parties in a blazer and drink wine.
I don't show up to Super Bowl parties in a blazer and drink wine. I show up to Super Bowl parties in a tuxedo and drink cognac.
You're not supposed to recant like what is that word?
There's no rebuttal.
Yeah, you're not supposed to rebut my statements. You're supposed to say something mean about me instead.
Well, I just had to make sure that,
That's not how this game works.
I have to set the record straight.
I that's fair, Gavi, that you you're a one-upper, it sounds like, so it's gonna be fine. But yes, you can have your tuxedo and your cognac, but
Okay.
Sadie still made a solid joke.
Okay.
I'll be the
The
arbiter
mistake-
here.
The mistake was that it
are
didn't go
you?
far enough.
I
Okay.
just
Push it further.
I do not have the material for like a full round of you look like, but I
That's
did.
fine.
I thought we could go back and forth a few times if you have anything you want to get off your chest about me.
That sounds lovely. I'm very into all of this. Sorry, I'm shifting around. Let me be still. Yeah, I've got a few written for you guys. I didn't write a ton because it's like the cayenne pepper. Like, you want a little, you don't want that to be the only thing in the podcast.
Give me
Okay.
like a second here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 solid Dinah jokes.
Oh.
Who has Sadie? Do you have any about me?
Other than no, not really. My jokes I wrote about you are not as good as the ones I wrote about Dinah. So
Okay.
I think
I'm
I've
gonna
got
roast you later.
maybe 3 or 4 for both of you guys. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that works.
Well, that sounds like this is just meant to be.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Alrighty. What order? How? Dinah, you tell us how we want to do this because you're the expert.
Let's see. It's weird because there's 3 people. So why don't we do?
You know that in the edit, I'm just going to change it all up so that mine get the most laughs, right?
Yes, I know. Okay, so Dinah, how about you and I go back and forth first, and then if you want to take some pot shots at Gavi, you can also do that.
Okay. Yeah, we can
Would
do
that work? Because I have responses for you that are pretty good. Okay.
Nice.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah. Sadie, go ahead.
Dinah, you look like when they did your exorcism, somebody mixed up some words in Latin and they accidentally put more demons in.
Oh, Sadie, you look like you're auditioning for the road company of Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, the musical.
You look like the kind of person who makes mimosas out of Sunny D and Colt 45.
I've actually done
And I
that.
wrote that
It's not a
before.
mimosa. It's a brass monkey. Beastie Boys have a song about it.
I just like to insult people by saying they drink Colt 45 because I hate
That's
this.
fine. I don't think I've ever had Colt 45, but that is funny.
You're literally missing nothing.
Sadie, you look like you know at least 3 uses for marshmallow fluff, and you're as white as the jar it comes in.
Dinah, you look... This was really good. You look like that lady who restored the H.A. Homo painting of Jesus took a stab at a painting of Tammy Faye Baker.
Damn. All right.
Vicious.
That was good. That's a good reference too. Good for you.
Thank you.
I think this is my last one for Sadie. Sadie, you look like the Precious Moments version of a manic pixie dream girl.
Okay. Can I have a parting
Please
shot at
do.
you?
I would love
Okay,
it.
this is my meanest one. If you want Gavi to cut it, it's okay.
It's fine.
Okay. You look like Dee Snider before he went to Weight Watchers.
Damn.
Got him! That's
So people-
funny.
So now nobody thinks I'm super nice anymore.
Oh no.
I'm gonna crawl off in my Precious Moments manic pixie dream girl hole and die.
Oh god. I thought about you, Sadie, and I was like, you've got this like Precious Moments doll, just like innocent eyes, but you're going through some so I was pretty pleased about that.
All right. So
when's my turn?
It's your turn now. That's all my
Yes, it's
good
your
turn.
turn.
Okay. Sadie, you look like you have so much trauma that they taught us about you in driver's ed class.
Heyo.
Oh.
You're just gonna have to keep roasting me because I didn't write jokes for you.
Oh,
Okay, well, I only have a few. Okay, well, the other one that I was going to say is, Sadie, you look like you were raised in a cult where everyone thinks that they're from the 1950s, and then you married a guy who has a haircut from the 1950s.
You know what? I don't know if Dinah's seen a picture of my husband, but it's true.
I'm gonna trust you, but I like that there's a weird Freudian thing there.
Have you seen it? Yeah, probably. Have you seen Clueless?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like the guy that the main character tries to get with in Clueless, but then he turns out being gay.
Elton?
My husband looks exactly like him, pretty much. No, I think let's do a couple more babies crying. So my time is limited. Let's get a couple more good insults in here before we go.
Okay, Dinah, what do you have for me?
All right, Gavi, you you look like you eat ass with a knife and fork.
I mean,
there's no rebuttal, right?
no. Yeah, there's let's see. Dinah, you look like bootleg Louis the 16th. And when Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," you ate all the cake, and then That's why the people revolted.
Nailed it. Gavi, your beard says it could be religious, it could be aesthetic, but I really grew it to help with the acoustics in my bedroom/studio.
I mean,
Oh.
what else do I have for you? I'm trying to scroll through. I wrote these down. You look like Nicolas Cage's bad, terrible role choice.
I only ever want to be the Wicker Man for the rest of my life, so that's fine. Let's see. Gavi, you look like Poshmark is always open in the background forever.
Dinah, you look like you listen to the show too much, and that's why you know all of this information about me.
Damn. Oh, Gavi, you look like your special occasion religious garb says Supreme on the inside.
I own nothing that says Supreme. Supreme is a garbage brand, I tell you. A garbage brand.
Oh, okay. So
I go for quality, not branding.
Okay.
You hit a rough. That was uncalled for. I do not buy Supreme.
Oh, Gavi.
Yeah.
You look like your shoes have more character than you do. Is that too much?
No.
Okay. That's all I've got for you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for you.
Little afternoon quick brainstorm.
We all still love each other?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
no, I love
Let's
it.
all hold hands and sing Kumbaya at the end of the...
Sadie, you didn't roast me at all.
I was too busy writing jokes about Dinah.
Okay.
I have a limited supply of comedy on any given day. I'll post them on Twitter.
That's fine. Yes, feel free to roast me on Twitter. That's absolutely acceptable.
Well, I think we've done it all. We've talked about trauma. We've talked about Duggar parody musical theater.
We've talked about drag.
We've talked about drag. We've made our drag characters. We've roasted each other. We've gotten slightly day drunk on recording.
I was just saying, we're rolling into hour 3, so
we're trying to be the ex-evangelical Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh
Lord. God.
Please don't.
No. There already is somebody who thinks he's the ex-evangelical Joe Rogan podcast. And he's not very good.
That's fine.
Why would anyone model themselves after Joe Rogan?
I don't know. Why would anybody be like mask off transphobic on Twitter?
Because the reason why you model yourself after Joe Rogan is because you are fake deep and middle brow, and you think that elk meat is fucking delicious. I don't know. All you want to do is elk meat and DMT. That's how you
do either of those things.
That's what Joe Rogan talks about on his show. He'll get Bernie Sanders on or like Elon Musk on, somebody like actually famous on, and then he'll be like, "Have you ever had elk meat?" And they'll be like, "The fuck are you asking me about elk meat for?" And he'll be like, "You ever done DMT?" Like he'll get like Bernie Sanders on and ask Bernie Sanders, "You ever done DMT?"
What's really interesting is I have had elk meat and I have not done DMT, but somebody offered it to me at a bar one time.
This episode of the Leaving Eden podcast is brought to you by DMT.
And thank you so much, Dinah, for being the absolute best to hang out with for an extremely long time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming to hang out with us. This has been fantastic.
I have had a blast. Thank you guys so much for inviting me and listening to me ramble and laughing at some of my jokes.
It's been so much fun. Do you have any social media that you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's Dinah House-Fire 1. I'm pretty sure I'm also just regular Dinah House-Fire, but I pulled a Sadie. I'm also on Instagram at Dinah House-Fire, and I'm on Facebook if you feel like looking at my crazy day-to-day crap. That's usually where I post a lot of stuff. Just regular old Dinah House-Fire.
Sadie, do you want to plug your social?
Yeah,
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Sadie Carpenter Music, or on Twitter at Hell Yeah Sadie, or on TikTok at some handle yet to be determined.
Oh, and then it's.
I'm just not giving out my. I can't give it anymore.
Okay, yeah, you can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Leaving Eden Podcast, on Twitter at Leaving Eden Pod. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Clubhouse at GAVRIELHACOHEN. And if you want to send us your emails, email us with questions, because that we're going to do a Q&A episode next month. It's going to be really good. Email us with questions at leavingedenpod@gmail.com. Yeah, that's it. Until next time, you guys have a nice day.
Thanks for coming to the Leaving Eden Drag Brunch.
Happy Pride, y'all.
Happy Pride. Bye-bye.
But old rolling river of time healed me in too many days. No regrets, no confusion. There'll be no pollution. I'm so thankful I've decided to change my ways. I'm so thankful I decided